This video is powered by the pros at Pascal Air Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
Hill on the ticket, and so I didn't say anything about it. And somewhere in South Carolina, I hope that's not on Grant Hill's permanent record, you know, if he got another speeding ticket in South Carolina. But that was a long time ago.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
That it shouldn't happen on too much of a routine basis. Hey, Tom Brady retires. Thoughts on, is he the GOAT? I mean, it's tough to go against him. You might look at some other quarterbacks that had greater physical qualities to them. But, I mean, you look at the career numbers, the Super Bowls and everything, and the story of his career, too. I'd be hard-pressed to find someone that I'd pick over him.
Yeah, call me when someone wins 7 Super Bowls. I was just reading this story in Sports Illustrated last night about the game between Seattle and New England. Remember when Pete Carroll called a pass, second down, 1 yard line, and Butler intercepted it, and all that. But at that point, Brady had gone a number of years without. You know, he won 3 in his first 4 years, and then I think it was maybe the 10th year or something, or 10 years had gone by, and then of course he won. He won 4 more but beginning with that game. So, you wonder what all would. I think he was 37 years old then. And, I mean, I got to see him play a little bit in that bowl game. But, he wasn't even, he was splitting time when he played against Arkansas in that bowl game. But who knew that he would be what he became?
Drew Henson, right? Was he the other quarterback from Michigan?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
Well, and to your point, Wes Welker never won a Super Bowl, so that's a good point by you, Grant, because he had all those years, and then Gronk only won 1 with New England, and everybody's like, thinking that he won multiple ones because he did have a little lull there. But just a body of work. He's not he wouldn't be the number 1 quarterback I would take. But you couldn't go wrong with picking him number 1. Do you have a Tom Brady moment? Do you have one that just sticks out?
I think just when I think about Tom Brady, I think about those perfect tight spirals. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks don't do that. A lot of great quarterbacks don't.
Peyton didn't have a good one. Peyton didn't throw a pretty ball.
Yeah, and I just think, it was just that and his fierce competitiveness, I would say. And the guy got angry. He probably got as angry late in his career as he ever did. But, the interesting thing, he was on 60 Minutes one time, did an interview, and he talked about how this was early in his career and how did he really want to keep playing football and there's got to be more stuff than this. And then, of course, he ends up pushing the envelope and playing all those years. So kind of interesting.
You heard the analogy, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog, and that's Tom Brady right there.
I think as somebody who was so good against pressure, he was so cool under pressure. Growing up as a Steelers fan, he owned Pittsburgh, and that was a defense that was built to blitz, and they blitzed him, and they paid the price for that. He against the blitz.
Yeah, and just total preparation. It was interesting in this story I was talking about, the center, who I think was a rookie at the time in that game against Seattle, changed the protection that Brady had called because it didn't account for it looked like they were going to rush 7 guys, and Brady called a protection that would have left 1 guy loose, and the center dared to kind of overrule Tom Brady on that call. So you don't think of Tom ever making a mistake on anything like that.
Grant, Arkansas looked good last night against Texas A&M. Few too many turnovers, few too many offensive rebounds allowed to the Aggies, but they got good shots. And, man, it's the best they've looked offensively in a long time, and they needed that win, and it's great to see them lead almost the entire game. I wouldn't put any of yesterday on the Aggies' travel necessarily. I think Arkansas did play that well where they needed to play that well, specifically getting good looks, knocking down shots.
Yeah, the only thing you might put on the travel is that A&M shot 26 out of 76, and they missed 10 free throws also. And it wasn't. I believe Jimmy Dykes is correct when he said a lot of coaches probably would have said, "Look, we just can't get there," So I give them credit for making the effort. But if it had anything to do with it, Arkansas was due a break like that, I would say. And really, these last two games have been weird in the sense that in both of them, Arkansas shot about 51% to the other team's 34%, but they lost one and sort of barely. I mean, Arkansas was only up 4 with 4 minutes to go last night, and it took and gave up, 24, I think, offensive rebounds and had 17 turnovers to A&M's 8. So those are figures that you say, well, you're not going to win those games. But then if you look at the disparity in the shooting percentages, you say you're going to win nearly all of those. So it was kind of odd that way, but it was as Devo held up there's 3 wins in a row in the conference with a great chance to add one Saturday, although South Carolina did beat Kentucky at Kentucky, and that's the South Carolina team you have to expect Arkansas will see on Saturday.
I thought it was pretty cool. The Mitchell twins get to start on their birthday, and then between them have a triple-double. 18 boards, 15 points, 10 block shots. Man, that's if you're talking about getting it on the aggregate, man, I was really impressed with what they did last night.
Yeah, and
Makhel's doing it on not one leg, but he's not 100%, and he's out there balling.
Yeah, and he almost did it. He challenged it by himself. I mean, if he'd have made that last free throw, that's a double-double, and then, just 3 blocks away from 10. I think he had eight in a game last year, or, for Rhode Island. But that's another, there's another example, guys, of when Arkansas had the 2 injuries, then they had to find other guys. That Graham has come along some, and now especially, at least last night, Makhel Mitchell. So when and if Nick Smith comes back, they could still be pretty good by tournament time.
When and if Nick Smith comes back. And that was even part of the conversation on the broadcast yesterday and on social media yesterday. And, I mean, I've been upfront about it. I'll believe he's going to play when he's on the court wearing a uniform playing for Arkansas. That's not to say I don't think he's going to play. I just don't know what to make of it at times, and everybody's supposed to have an opinion about it. It's
when
he's there with them right now. So I mean, maybe if he wasn't going to play for Arkansas, he wouldn't even be back with the team at all. That's what he said yesterday on Twitter.
Yeah, like why would he enroll in school? And I know Priscilla cast doubt on it, but Jimmy Dykes has been consistent in thinking he's going to come back sometime in the next week or 10 days or something. So it appeared that it would be really timely because of Anthony Black, and he had this hand injury, and he's got this knee thing going on, but it's not phasing him. Anthony Black, I mean, it's a good thing the guy played football because he's had some collisions this year, including last night, and if nothing, he's shown that he's a tough kid, I would say.
He's like he should be wearing a face mask for basketball.
Yeah.
He was a wide receiver when it came to football and was recruited to play there in college. I mean, he's one of the only players I've thought for basketball that consistently needs a face mask because people always have their elbows.
He's not afraid of a little contact. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he'll block a shot for you or get a rebound in traffic, and but I've kind of wondered about what the team's going to look like if Nick Smith comes back. He's a guy that sort of needs the basketball, and they've gotten accustomed to playing the way they're playing. Now they've got, no one thought that Devo was really a true point guard or Ricky Council. Obviously Anthony Black is, but when he comes back, they're going to have to adjust to his presence and play a little bit different way. And that's not to say. I mean, I think everybody wants him to come back and help, but I think there will be an adjustment period there.
I just saw this, and you might have already been ahead of me here, Grant, but Devo reminds me so much of Clint McDaniel and what he used to do on that 1992-93 team. I mean, he can bring the ball up the floor if you need him to. He can hit a 3 if you need him to, but he's going to lock down the other team's best player. But he can do a little bit you don't want him to have to do it the whole game. And I love some Clint McDaniel. He was kind of that glue guy, one of those guys that you knew if he was guarding you, it was going to be a long night.
It's interesting, Matt. He was there last night, along with, I think, Davo Remock was there.
Oh,
and
nice.
Emma Martin.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I know, and also Sam Pittman, of course, and Dan Enos were there in the crowd. But yeah, Devo. I know that fans get exasperated on some of the passes and things, but they had this quote last night they showed from Nolan Richardson. You probably saw it, that a lot of guys play hard on one end of the court, but not that many guys play as hard on both ends of the floor as Devo does. And he really, Nolan is really high on Devo. I'm sure he would have loved to coach him too.
Oh man, Devo could play for any college basketball team in the country. You'd be lucky to have that kid. It's weird. I don't know if his game's going to translate to that next level like a Pat Beverly did when he kind of made his deal on defense. But Devo can go overseas and make a lot of money if he wants to.
Yeah, that will be interesting, Matt, to see. And and he is the guy on this team that has 2 Elite Eights that he's been to, and he's really become the leader.
Mm-hmm.
We talked last week about calling his own timeout and stuff. And last night after the game, I couldn't tell after that last dunk. He went to the shake hands line, and Buzz was right there, and somehow they kind of missed each other. And I don't know. I'm not sure what happened there. Did you ever go through a shake hands line and kind of just gloss past guys you didn't like, or how was that?
Oh, I don't think that was intentional. I think usually when the game's over, you put everything behind you because we understand that it's a game and competition. You try not to let it get personal. And you know what? If you don't want me to dunk it at the end of the game, then don't let me have the ball. I have no problems with scoring a touchdown late or dunking. That's why they keep score, man.
Yeah, it was such a spur of the moment. There was, just 2 or 3 seconds left when it happened.
How cool of a dunk was that? That kind of made me. Clint McDaniel used to do that,
It's funny. The one that Council had last night, as crowd pleasing a play as that was, A&M went immediately on a 5-0 run.
Yeah, they got a 3-point play on the next end. Yep.
You notice when it comes to the top play on SportsCenter, they show the play. They didn't show the next 2 minutes after the play.
No, that's right.
Man, his spring, oh my goodness. We've said we hadn't seen it in a few games, but we saw it in some non-conference games. When he wants to take off, he's taking off. You can just get out of the way.
When that back is loosened up.
Oh my goodness.
That's the thing with Council.
It's so quick too. It's like as soon as he jumps, he just springs. I mean, it's fun.
Well, Grant, whatever he's done to loosen that back the last couple of games, I hope it continues. But I have to ask you about Henry Moore, who passed away Sunday at age 88 and was one of the great Razorbacks of the 50s and part of the 25 Little Pigs. And I know this is a player that you got a chance to watch when you were a little pup.
Yeah, my first year to watch Arkansas football was 1955. I was 7 years old. And I'm not going to tell you I remember a lot about it, but Arkansas always started the season with Tulsa. The first home game in Fayetteville would be in Tulsa against Tulsa, and that was the game. And Arkansas won, and they had the old-time scoreboard, where the clock just kind of crept along, and you couldn't quite figure out exactly how much.
Nice, like the scoreboard in School Ties. Yeah.
Yeah, and so my sister and I spent half the game, I think, playing on the steps or something. But I do remember hearing his name a lot, and of course he was a great pile driving back, and he played in 53, 4, and 5. So he played 2 years under Bowden White and 1 under Jack Mitchell. But his other coaches, it's amazing. He played for Wilson Matthews, and then he played for Vince Lombardi and the 1956 Giants championship team. Lombardi was an assistant coach then. Jim Lee Howell, who had Arkansas ties, was the head coach. And then Henry Moore went and played for Baltimore, and they went, I think that next year in 58 was when they won, some call it the greatest game ever played, John Unitas handing off to Alan Amici and all that stuff. I remember when I was a kid watching on TV. But so he had 2 good years. I think probably he and his brother Billy were just as known for things off the field as on the field. And, but that Billy made AP All-America quarterback in 1960, I think it was. Had a 90-yard run against Tulsa. So 2 great Razorbacks, and I know a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but people my age certainly remember Henry Moore.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet online, where the game starts.